Hello YouTube, this is Telltale Computers with another video, your host, Charlie. Today, this is a follow-up video from the previous one of the enterprise storage solution from Western Digital, the Raptor drives. This time it's going to be two Samsung SSD drives from October 2014, so roughly about 6 years old. We're on Sata 3, and I'll feel use these as a comparison compared to the Western Digital drives from the previous video. I'll use the same two apps for testing, which is HD Tune and DiskMark. You could also have these two drives also in RAID mode as well. Now both SSD drives are 120 gigs a piece. And I got them in RAID 1, so you get maximum read and write speed capabilities. And I will test one drive to give you a general idea of what single drive can do versus dual drives in RAID 1. So with further ado, let's get the test started. And if you guys are curious about the specs, it's the same system from last time. Nothing has changed. And for a future video, I will try SLI 2 GTX 950 cards together, the one I fixed and the one that worked, and see how well everything works out, and see if the CPU can handle both of them together. And I will do the same tests as well on an Intel setup and on a Ryzen setup, which is a new AMD hardware. Agricultural. That's kind of hard for me to pronounce. Sorry. But in any case, give you guys a general idea of different hardware, old versus new, and give you guys a general idea of how well stuff still performs, regardless of the brand new spanking hardware today versus 4 to 8 years ago. Because the CPU is from 2013, to use a general idea. Yeah, and the GTX card is roughly about the same, around the same year, give or take a couple years. But it's something really cool. I like to see old hardware, how well it can compare to new stuff today. Well, outside track anymore, let's get started with the test. This is HD Tune version 2.55, and they SSD drives are the same model number and make. There's no difference in between them. It was pulled from a Lenovo computer from a business. Here's a little insight about it. So, here's the first drive. And after the test is finished, I'll go to DiskMark for the RAID test. Now a little bit about these drives. Oh, sorry, I want to say the 128 gig drives, not 120. I apologize. You guys are curious about the model number is MZ-72. Oh, sorry. Scratch that. MZ-7TE1280. And they were made in 2014-09. So, yeah. So they're roughly 6 years old, 11 years. Yeah, 6 years old. So that's not too bad. And Samsung drives are pretty good. Now my favorite SSD drive is actually Intel, which is kind of ironic because I run an AMD gaming PC. So it's really, really funny. But Intel's SSD drives or M.2 are like far the best drives I've ever had. And they're priced fairly well too, because a 1 terabyte SSD drive M.2 from Intel used to run about 110, now it's 130, but still it's not too bad. And its read and write speeds are far beyond anything I can ever hope to max out with my current hardware. So, before I do, that's basically sums up of why I like Intel over Samsung SSDs. Now, I used to run Samsung SSDs a long time ago, but since I tried Intel, it's like way better, and even Inland, which is made by Toshiba using Micron chips, it also has a faster pickup and go for the price versus performance standpoint. I know I can get the Samsung Pro, which is regional 3000 megs and writes, but in all honesty, that's like a little bit more than what I want to spend pocketbook wise. Might just go with the 1800 megabit second Intel, or the 2100 megabyte England professional SSD from Toshiba, which is made for Micro Center's branding. For a little insight on that too, which is actually kind of cool if you think about it. But so far the test actually reading pretty actually steady. Maximum is like 382, and minimum is 75. So roughly two times faster for mid speed, and and about twice to three times faster than your usual speed for the Western digital drives. And I actually got a pic of that to compare for you guys too as well. Got a screenshot of that beforehand. This here is the Western digital drive. So we'll pull it off to the side here so you guys get a little side by side comparison. The minimum transfer rate for the Western digital drive is 47 versus 75 for the SSD. So not too much different, about 30, which is not that bad. Now at maximum speed, that's a lot different. It's like 1 to 3 ratio for SSD versus the hard drive. And average read and write for transfer is 82 versus 266. So a little bit over 3 times faster in that aspect too. But as for minimum, it's not really that much of a difference per se, given your normal day tasks. And as burst rate for the SSD is 11.9. The burst rate for the hard drive is 96.5. So the hard drive actually wins in that aspect, but it takes a lot more CPU usage to make that happen versus only using 8.5 or 11.9. If you actually take that into concept for a calculator, this actually loses in that aspect versus percent to CPU usage versus the hard drive to CPU usage. So that's you guys a general idea. Now I'll minimize this for you guys, and now we'll run the RAID version of the 2 SSD drives with DiskMark. This test takes roughly about a minute-ish. Exact same defaults I use for the Western digital drives as for this setup. So we'll see what happens at RAID 1 of its 2 SSD drives from about 6 years ago. And I'll pull up the screenshot from the Western digital drives from the previous video so you guys have a good side-by-side comparison. And when my 2 new Intel SSDs come in for M.2 for this Levio workstation project, I'll also do a side-by-side comparison with that too to give you guys a general idea versus M.2 versus Sata, which would be kind of cool to see as well. Now the test is done for this, so we had this time at 37.89 seconds, last at 109.52, average is 98.81, mid is 11.1, max is 169.71 for write performance. Now read performance is a little higher, a lot higher. For this time is 9.9 seconds. for last is 432.16 megabytes a second. Averages out to 434.9 megabytes a second. Mid is 11.83 megabytes a second. And max is 469.838 megabytes a second. Now I pull up the comparison for the hard drives. So cover that up. So as for the hard drive, this time is 6 seconds slower than SSDs. The least is 20 megs difference, which isn't all that bad considering. And for the average, the hard drive versus SSD for average is actually 0.41 megabytes a second, which is actually fairly cool. For mid, they're only off by 4.3 megabytes a second, which isn't too terrible. And for max write performance, the hard drive sits just shy of the SSD configuration with 22.3 megabytes slower than SSD configuration, which isn't that bad considering the price point. Now as for read performance, that's where you see the giant difference. The hard drives are 21 seconds slower than SSDs, and figuratively speaking, about 2.5 times slower than the SSD drives read performance. But as for mid read performance, it's only 4.5 megabytes a second slower. And for max, it's about, let's say, like I said, 3-ish or 2.9-ish times faster for the SSD drives versus hard drives. Now, as for price comparisons, back when the drives first came out, they ran roughly about in the hundreds ish, and same thing for the SSD drives when the first SSD drives actually came out. But for prices for today based, you pick up both of these Western Digital drives for roughly about $15 at a recycle place for used computer parts, or on eBay for between $20 and $30 a drive, versus the SSD drives from Samsung, which is between $25 to $40 on eBay right now, depending on the model that is. This is average cost. So you guys can deal with the extra 21 seconds for read performance. I suggest going with the Western Digital drives if you guys are just looking for something simple and cheap. If you guys really need the read performance aspect, then I always add in a little bit extra for the SSD drives. Now, you guys are looking for a cheap storage solution to run, like say GTA 5, and you guys don't care about losing data, I still go with the Western Digital drives, only because you get 600 gigabytes storage subtracting format, which would bring it down to roughly about 528, if I'm not mistaken. So you get 558 versus 238. So yes, you gain just 320 gigs more of space versus the SSDs. So it has some pluses and minuses. So between the two. So that's a good comparison for you guys. These are SSDs. These are the Western Digital RAID. These are RAID 1 software RAID through Windows 10. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. Which route you guys prefer to go versus price point performance. And thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please subscribe and like, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.